Hi everybody, how you going? This is Jo with Jo Wise Leadership. I'll just wait so I can share while Facebook builds an audience. All right, we've got people coming live. So hi, how you going? Sorry, just got a big close-up of me there. My name is Jo with Jo Wise Leadership, and today we're going to have a talk about I want it and I want it all now. I caught up with a client yesterday, so I've just got Facebook running in the background. I can see it's quite distracting. Okay, I've just shut that down. Yesterday I met up with a client, and it was really interesting because this is a client that I worked with last year, and we probably finished, hi Jenny, how you going? We probably finished working together, early last year. She got in touch with me last week to call me in to see if I can do some corporate training for them. So that's really cool. I went in and met her boss and her and so on. And we went out for lunch afterwards, and it was really interesting because one of the things she said to me really hit home, and that was that she said, I think I'm getting as much out of coaching this year as I did last year. And as I said, I haven't worked with her for about 12 months. And it was interesting because we had a talk about it, and she said, things are working out really well for her. She's in a really, really awesome job, and she's really happy where she is. She's working out regularly. She's got a guy. Everything's just really fallen into place for her. But it's interesting because when we started to work together, 18 months ago or whatever it was, there were all of the things that she wanted. And I think sometimes it's really easy for us to go, well, this is what I want and I want it now. And let's face it, we all do. We live in this, hard and fast world where things move quickly, and we see other people getting results really, really quickly, and we just want it all now. And I think sometimes it's nice for us to remember that, transition and real growth, developing as a leader, developing as a strong person, as a woman, these are the types of things that can take a little bit of time. We've all got a bit of crud to get rid of. We've all got some frustrations to let go of. We've all got, crap to let go of, absolutely. And I just think sometimes we can get quite frustrated when we're looking at where we are compared to where we want to be, because it feels like everybody else has the results that we want. So I'm going to talk about really quickly about a couple of things to not do when you're looking at growth, when you're looking at personal development, when you're looking at your leadership development. So things not to do, 3 things not to do when looking at leadership and personal growth is quantity. So don't take on a million things at once, because I know, I do a lot of work with professional women that are, high performers and overachievers, and they expect to be able to do everything now, because quite often in the past they have been able to. And it's interesting because we can go, okay, well, this is the change I want to make, so I'm going to just saturate myself with it. I'm going to join 20 programs. I'm going to get 10 coaches. I'm going to read 50 books. And when we do that, it can be quite all-consuming, and we can also fall off that bandwagon pretty quickly because it's not realistic. It's not sustainable for us to be able to sustain that growth pattern in that way for a long period of time. So when you're experiencing growth or wanting to experience growth and going through some transformations and some growth yourself, then don't do quantity. Think about quality. Find some things that really resonate with you, whether it's, a book that you want to read, read it and You know, if you're a highlighter, highlight it. And I'm a highlighter and an underliner and a tabber with my books. So, you know, my books are absolutely massacred, which I know horrifies a lot of my friends, but I read them and I underline them and I highlight them and I tab them so that I can go back to the pages. And I really, really get involved in the book and take out what I can for myself. Okay, so rather than reading 20 books all about it, just find one that really resonates with you. It might be a book, it might be a program, it might be a coach. You know, whatever your options are, pick one or two things and work with that rather than, you know, overcommitting and then falling off the bandwagon really quickly. The second thing is be patient with it. You know, we all hear about, you know, these 3 steps led me from here to here in 23 seconds and, you know, it completely changed my life. And we all want those results as well. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Steph. Nice to see you. Jenny saying me too with the books. I know, me too. So when I say we can get really impatient with it, we can want it all hard and fast and right now. But in reality, when we are going through real deep growth and when we are really expanding, and if we're going into something like, you know, becoming a real leader, that doesn't start on the outside, that always starts on the inside. And this internal work does take a bit of time. Good morning, Fatten, nice to see you. And when we're patient with that and we breathe into it and we accept that, you know, something's going to happen really fast and some things will happen a little bit slower, we actually allow that, I'm going to say, evolution to take place, and it actually becomes a part of us. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today, so I'm talking about the 3 things not to do when you're going through change, when you're creating change for yourself and transformation yourself, is do not do 100 million things at once, because you'll get overwhelmed and you'll fall off the bandwagon really quickly, like I've done myself and many of my clients have done. Don't be impatient. So be really patient with it. You know, allow yourself to take your time. We've taken, you know, I know I'm 45 this year, so some of the habits and learnings and beliefs that I have now have been created consistently for the last 45 years. So it's not always going to be able to change. I'm not always going to be able to change things like that. Yeah. So it is going to take a bit of time sometimes. So when we're patient with it, and we breathe into it, as I said, we actually allow that to happen. Now, one of the women, Leonie, hi Leonie, who's going to be laughing at what I'm about to say, because I actually get really impatient with, and I know I've talked to you about this before, but I get really impatient with change and I want it all to happen right now as well. But what I'm learning in my more mature years is, and you know, having conversations with people like Leonie and really smart women, is that, you know, the more we allow it to happen and the more we allow it to unravel within us, then it actually, sometimes we can feel like it takes longer, but it actually saves us a lot of time. And the reason that happens is because when we're reading 10 different books and have 10 different programs and are expecting everything to come from the outside and all of the answers to come from the outside for us, then we don't have time to really allow the information to come in and for us to filter that information in our way and for us to ask, how does this information actually work for me? You know, what does this mean for me? How would this work with me and my family? You know, do I agree with this or do I not agree with it? Does it press my buttons? Does it not press my buttons? If it does press my buttons, then what's that about? When we're just doing all the quantity stuff and doing heaps and heaps of it and keep going, we don't allow for that real integration to take place. So we need to be patient with that integration and allow the information, the learnings, our own wisdom to really become part of us and really allow our wisdom to come out and to sort of guide us to a certain extent as well, I think. The last thing not to do when we're doing personal development and our leadership development and growth is comparing ourselves to others. Now, this is something that I used to be very, very good at. And comparison is a real... Well, I think there's 2 things with comparison. I think comparison can be quite helpful if you're using it in a resourceful way. Thank you for the love. If you're looking and you're going, because I've got a friend that I work with, and well, we don't work, we run businesses that are really, really different, but there's some similarities. And we'll quite often be chatting to each other, and she'll say, I just did this and it worked really well and this is what happened. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to do that too. But we do it in a way where it's fun and light and it's really positive to ourselves. So then I'll think, okay, and I'll talk to her and I'm like, okay, well, how would that work for me and what would I do? And okay, I think that works well, and no, I don't agree with that, and yes, I agree with this is what I'm going to do. And we use that comparison. It's like we're comparing, and there's quite often things that we'll talk about. And she said to me recently, you know, you ran that program that you were going to run and I was going to run it too, but I didn't do it. And so we do a comparison, but it's light and it's fun, and we use it to move us forward rather than the opposite. But what I'm talking about today is the comparison where you look at somebody else and you think, oh wow, you know, they've really got it all together and they've done all of this stuff. And sometimes we can go, well, I want that exactly, but we may not have seen the 20 years of growth that they've done. We may not have seen the development courses they've done, the time they've spent allowing things to integrate with them, the learnings that they've had over the years. So, you know, quite often when we compare ourselves to others, if it's done in a fun, resourceful way and it moves you forward, please go ahead and do it. But if it's done, if the comparison makes you feel icky at all, then let go of the comparison. Because remember, we haven't seen the behind the scenes work, and we actually haven't seen what's really going on inside that person. You know, we can see a lot from the outside. Sometimes we think we can see a lot from the outside, but that doesn't really mean we know what's going on. So 3 things not to do when you're going through personal development is quantity. Yeah, stick with the quality instead. Is be impatient. It's really time to be patient with yourself and allow the integration and growth to take place. Sometimes that'll happen, you know, I know with some of my clients, they're like, man, that has integrated with me. I know that's a part of who I am right now, just in one phone conversation. And sometimes it takes longer. I know with some of my clients, they'll call me or text me a couple of weeks later and after a call and go, I just got that thing you said. It's really just hit me now. So, you know, it can take a bit of time. So be patient with that. Thanks, Jenny. And the comparison. If the comparison is not working for you, if it's not making you feel light and refreshed and resourceful and it's not moving you forward, then let go of the comparison altogether. Okay, thank you for sharing the video. I really appreciate it. So what to do when you're doing some development on yourself is, 1, be patient, be gentle with yourself. And I know that Elizabeth Gilbert says in that book, Eat, Pray, Love, which I love. I'm going to go out there. I know a lot of my clients are like, I can't stand that book. I love it. And in that book, she says, when you're learning something new, be gentle with yourself. And I say that all of the time, because when we're learning something new, stuff's going to come up, buttons are going to be pressed, and I'm going through a big learning, like a spiritual learning at the moment about a lot of stuff that I'm learning, and it's pressing all my buttons, and I'm doing all of this. This is why I'm sharing it with you, because it's coming up for me and it's coming up for my clients as well. So things to do: be gentle and kind with yourself. Journaling I find really, really helpful. However, with journaling, one of the things that I would say is I would encourage you, when you are journaling, to take a few minutes to really center yourself first and tune into your intuition. Because it's very easy to journal straight from your head, and then that's it's a very thinking, and as women, we do most of our best work from our intuition and our feelings. So when you're journaling, just take a couple of moments at the beginning to really breathe into your core, to really bring your awareness out of your head, drop it down through your heart and into your intuition, into your power center, and then allow the words to come from there. Now with journaling, I type my journaling rather than handwrite it. A lot of people say it's more powerful to handwrite, but I can't read my own writing and I find handwriting really uncomfortable, so I type instead. So you work with whatever works for you. And I know Steph has just said she uses picture art in her journaling, and that helps her, and that's something, it's an area Steph Brown specializes in, is picture journaling. She runs courses and does coaching around that, so that's a really powerful area as well. So whatever works for you, if it's words, if it's pictures, if it's something else, if it's, you know, coloring in. And Fadden's going to be very patient with herself, because I'm always in the habit of comparing myself to others when I shouldn't. So thank you so much for this. Thank you. I'm so glad, Fadden, because that comparison thing is is a massive, massive thing. And I noticed with myself when I first started running my business, there were so many people around me that were so successful, I thought, and were doing all of this stuff. And I was consistently comparing myself to them. Then once I sort of let that go and just started doing what I felt worked for me, what really felt right for me, what I really wanted to do, what I was really passionate about, and put my energy there instead, my business really started, my career really started to move forward. And what I also noticed is all the people that I was comparing myself to just 3 or 4 months before actually weren't getting the results. They were doing lots of showy stuff and it looked like they were successful, but a lot of them actually weren't getting the results. So that's why I also say, Fatima, for all of us, that it's easy. Sometimes I think it's very easy to look successful. See, I look successful. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's really happening. So I'm glad you got that learning today, Fatima. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you sharing that as well. So we've talked about journaling, we've talked about being gentle with ourselves, asking yourself smart questions as well. Have an awareness of when you're asking yourself questions that they're not being judgmental. Ask yourself nice, open, gentle, kind questions. Now what I mean by that is, why did you do that? When you're going through your head and asking yourself, why did you do that? Why would you have been so silly? Why would you have, whatever your tapes are that you play in your head, instead flip the questions to be more resourceful in a way that will move you forward. Like, what is it that I could have done instead? Or what did I do really well here? What can I improve? Questions that actually really help you move forward rather than keep you stuck. And of course, I'm going to say as well, get a coach. Because I've found that for myself, that times of my life and career, when there's stuff going on, it really helps me to just be able to get it out of my head, get it out of my body, and to be able to talk about it with somebody else. A client, I met 2 of my old clients yesterday. One of the clients that I met first for coffee, I haven't worked with her since about December last year, and she's got a whole bunch of changes going on at the moment, and she just gave me a call the other day and she's like, can we do a session? And I'm like, well, I don't normally only work with people for 6 months at a time, but I was more than happy to have a session with her. She just needed somebody to brainstorm with and to get some of that stuff out. And she walked away different person. She walked in, you could see her body was all tight and she was smiling but quite compacted and quite restricted, and she walked away and you could just see her whole body was open. You could see her thoughts were open, and it was just a really lovely transformation in that session, and obviously some of the learnings from that will continue on for the next couple of months. So let me know if you need anything, and thank you so much for your comments today. It's really great to hear what is happening for you in these calls and what you're getting out of it. I always talk about the things that I think is important, because I think that's the way of building a great business and being fantastic in our career, because I know that those things resonate with you. So thank you so much for sharing. You have a fabulous day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.